Welcome to Session 2 in the online series of presentations by Master Grocers Australia and Liquor Retailers Australia. It's part of the Energy Efficiency Information Project, which has received funding from the Commonwealth Government. This presentation will help you understand your energy bills and hopefully help you save some cash. Despite rising prices, many of us simply pay our power bills without even studying them properly. It's a case of ignorance is bliss. But remember, you can't manage what you don't measure. So let's take a look at a typical bill and identify the key components you need to understand to make savings. We will look at what you're paying for, when you use energy, trends in your energy use, and your peak demand. Most energy bills are a few pages long, and although they're not all the same, they have similarities to this bill. The front page is a summary, and depending on your provider, there may be graphs, billing details, and usage details on the other pages. But it's this page we're most interested in. It outlines how much power you are using, when you are using it, and how much it all costs. In the top left-hand corner, you should be able to see the NMI, pronounced NIMI. It's a National Meter Identifier for electricity, or if it's a gas account, a Meter Installation Reference Number, or MERN. It's a unique number that identifies the metering at your address for billing purposes. Now, knowing this is useful because some businesses may have more than one meter for separate areas. This is how you can tell which bill is for which part of your business. Having separate readings for different areas allows you to see what parts of your business are using the most amount of energy. When you get back to your store, check the NIMI on your bill with the NIMI on your meter to make sure they're both the same. Now, if they don't match, you may be paying for somebody else's electricity use. Also at the top of the bill should be the billing period. The billing period is the period of time to which all charges on the bill relate. You'll need to know the billing or supply period to determine how much energy you use on average each day, week or month. As you can see here, the billing period is for the month of July 2012. This data could be used to compare electricity use against corresponding periods to identify if you're using more or less than the previous period. When you get back to your store, check that the start date on your most recent bill is the day immediately after the end date on the previous bill. We're now going to look at consumption and network charges. This is what you're paying for. The itemised consumption charges are on the left-hand side of the bill. Energy charges are the cost of the energy used by your business. Supply charges are the costs associated with transporting the energy to your business from the power station, based on your usage. The charges over the period may also include charges for emissions and renewable energy, meter supply charges, market participation charges, and distribution charges or network charges. The layout could vary from retailer to retailer, but generally this is where the various charges are itemised. Now turn your attention to the middle of the bill where energy consumed over the billing period is listed. Each charge is determined from the quantity of energy used, kWh or kilowatt hours, or MJ, megajoules, multiplied by the tariff or rate, which is the cost of the energy supplied. We will come back to energy consumption charges shortly. But first, you should be able to see a column titled Line Loss to the right of the energy consumption column. Line loss is equivalent to the amount of energy lost through transmission from the point where it's created to where it reaches you. It's approximately 10% of total electricity consumption. This is calculated by your energy provider annually and is determined by your location, connection type, and level of voltage supplied. It's directly on charge to you as a result of supplying you with energy. Line loss could also be represented as transmission loss factors, TLF, and distribution loss factors, or DLF. On the right-hand side of the bill are the energy consumption tariffs. They represent the dollars per kilowatt hour you're paying for against each itemised consumption charge. Understanding your tariffs means you'll know when your energy is costing you more to consume. You should be able to see the network charges itemised on the left-hand side of the diagram and the corresponding amounts and charges in the middle and to the right of the page. This is where your retailer may charge you separately for peak and off-peak electricity use on top of normal energy charges. If you're on a demand tariff, then peak demand for the amount of electricity you consumed during the period is listed here too. Peak demand is your greatest demand for electricity over a billing period. That is, it's the largest electrical load you placed on the grid at any given point in time. You're essentially paying for the energy company to have that much electricity available to you should you need it. Peak demand charges can be stepped with a number of different tariff levels, meaning there's a different rate for the first consumption bracket compared to the next brackets. This can be expressed as kVA, kilovolt ampere, or kW, kilowatts. You can see in the diagram that there are 3 steps to calculating the peak demand costs on this bill. Peak demand is charged by your electricity supplier in addition to usage every billing cycle, and could be calculated once a year or monthly, and set as the average from which all future peak demands are compared against and charged. The consumption history is the graph at the bottom of the page. Monitoring your consumption history is important as it will give you insight into your energy demand and its variability over the period. Your bill is likely to have a usage trend graph for a year. However, you can also source data from your supplier for shorter periods, daily, hourly, or even for 15 minutes. This can be really valuable when seeking to understand the savings you can make by changing the operation times of equipment like lighting and air conditioning in your store, and ensuring staff are following procedures to reduce energy. We'll speak more about that later. Many bills have a graph like this one outlining your peak demand. By managing your peak demand, you will be able to save money. As you can see on this bill, the peak at this particular store occurred at 2 p.m. on the 5th of July at 265 kVA. For the remainder of the month, the average peak demand was around 200 kVA. The event on the 5th of July represented a 65 kVA peak above the monthly average. When you use more than the average, you're charged an additional rate. In this example, the average peak demand rate is 200 kVA, but the peak demand was 65 kVA above this average. Therefore, the store will be charged $15 per kVA multiplied by 65 kVA above average. That's $975 for this billing period, and that's only 1 month. If this store constantly exceeds the average peak demand, even if it's only by 20 kVA, as happened on the 31st of July, they'll end up paying an extra $3,600 over a 12-month period. You're basically paying for the peak amount of electricity to be available to you at all times. By understanding how and why your peak demand occurred, you may be in a position to ask your retailer if they can reset your peak demand. Providing you don't exceed it again, you could save quite a bit off your energy bills. So, how do you manage peak demand in your store? Check your equipment frequently to ensure it's maintained in good working order. If it's old or worn out, it may draw more power during startup due to increased loading. Changing your equipment startup times so they're not all going on together. For example, only turn on your full lighting no more than half an hour before opening time, and ensure your heating or air conditioning doesn't turn on at the same time as the lighting. You could also save money by asking your refrigeration mechanic to ensure defrosting doesn't occur when you turn on the lights and air conditioning. Let's summarise the key aspects of your bill. Energy has a different cost per unit at different times of the day, as reflected in your tariffs. If you don't know, your retailer will be able to tell you when the tariffs start and end. Knowing when you use energy will also put you in a better position to negotiate with your retailer. Your peak demand and how that relates to your average demand, your energy use across the year and how it varies. Remember, you can't manage what you don't measure. MGA have appointed Schneider Electric Professional Services to source and negotiate the best electricity supply deal for our members. MGA's energy procurement offers not just the purchase of electricity, but the ongoing monitoring of bills, tariff reviews, power factor recommendations and analysis, and a monthly report to indicate whether there are areas with your electricity bill that need to be followed up. The benefits to you as members include optimal pricing of the energy and environmental costs, negotiated metering costs, annual network tariff reviews, ongoing market reviews, and monthly reporting, which includes bill checking to ensure the bills provided are correct, management of any billing errors, dashboard reports showing demand and consumption and areas that should be addressed within your store. If you would like MGA to help you manage your energy costs, please fill out an expression of interest form which is located on the Master Grocers Australia website. There's no obligation, but you will be surprised at how many better electricity supply offers are out there. If you're ready to find out more about how to develop your own energy management system, please click on Session 3 now.